It is 3 o'clock in the morning. I guess Erin decided to start her day early today.
Well, at least she's happy. But man, it's going to be a rough day with such little sleep. You'd think we'd be heading to a theme park with that level of excitement.
In my personal opinion, the only reason to be up this early is if we are actually headed to a theme park.
Well, we may not be headed to a theme park, but I do know a way that we could wake up and get a little piece of that theme park magic here in our living room.
Dress Erin up as a wizard and pretend like we're riding on Forbidden Journey?
No.
Sing It's a Pirate's Life for me and splash water on our faces?
What? Never mind. We should brew a pot of Expedition Roasters coffee.
Oh, that's a much more sensible idea. I guess I'm too tired to think straight. What flavor should we make?
I'm thinking that maybe we could try their newest flavor, Wonderland Coffee Crumb Cake.
Oh, that flavor sounds really good. Or we could brew Fortune and Glory Bourbon Streusel. Or Enchanted Tiki Coconut.
Honestly, I'm so tired. I have a feeling that we're going to have multiple cups, so let's brew them all.
Uh-oh. Sounds like Erin requires our immediate attention, if you know what I mean. Want to take this one, Daddy?
What was that? I think I hear the kettle boiling already. I'm going to go grab that and make the coffee, okay?
But the kettle wasn't even on. Oh, well. As long as he comes back with a cup of Expedition Roasters, I really don't care. Come on, Erin. Let's go take care of business. Start your expedition today at expeditionroasters.com and use coupon code DUO15 to save 15% off your first purchase of Expedition Roasters themed coffees, shirts, and mugs. You can even get an art print of your favorite bag design. Brew your happy place. Expedition Roasters, an adventure in every bag.
Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm Gabe.
And I'm Nikki.
And we are
the Theme Park Duo.
I was a little late on that one.
I was
just a little early.
Bit.
You were a little early. I was a little late. Made it there just fine.
I even surprised myself with how early I started, so you had no chance.
Zero chance.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in with us today. We have a fun and exciting episode. Lots of news to talk about. But our main subject is Jaws the Ride.
Whoa.
Which is a classic attraction from Universal Studios, Florida. You know, all those fun people out in Orlando get all the fun stuff. Then again, the ride was based off of our attraction here on the tour. So, I mean, I can only bitch moan a little bit.
It's a grass greener type of situation.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But before that, like I said, there's a ton of news to get to. A lot of things have happened over the last couple of weeks. So let's jump right into the Theme Park Bulletin.
Well, the main bit of news is Erin went to Disneyland for the first time.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And she was awake for most of it. But
Except
she did
for her naps.
Her one nap was on the carousel in mid-spin.
She had a great time. She played really hard and napped really hard. Basically,
yes.
It was the theme of the day.
So she enjoyed Haunted Mansion. I feel like she was just like looking around a lot.
That was the first thing she went on ever.
Yeah, first Disney
related,
ride ever is the Haunted Mansion, which makes my heart proud. She went on Tiki Room, which before the show even started, she was screaming at the birds in excitement.
Tiki Room was her favorite thing of the day.
Hands down, there was no questions about that.
I got to experience Tropical Hideaway for the first time.
Yeah,
I did not see Rosita though. She was
covered up. I don't know why. She must have been broken.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened to Rosita.
That's what I was just about to say. I wonder what happened to her. Yeah, but no, I love Tropical Hideaway. It was fun. They added seating like on the side of the Tiki Room building that faces
the main pathway of Adventureland.
The main Adventureland, walkway. And so that's my new favorite spot in Disneyland, I think. I was sitting there for a long time because Erin took one of her naps there, and I was just people watching for like 40 minutes.
It's a great spot.
It was amazing.
It's a great spot, a little perch there.
Yeah, I love it. Tiki Room was Erin's favorite thing of the day.
And just like her father, she was extremely creeped out by It's a Small World.
Oh, yeah. She was very unsure of It's a Small World. It was like the only thing she acted afraid of all day was like the first 5 minutes of It's a Small World.
She ended up being fine.
She was fine. Yeah.
She enjoyed it, but at the beginning she was like holding on to it, going,
Yeah. And she was dressed as Mary Poppins. She took a picture of Mary Poppins.
Bert.
And Bert, and she went to Fantasy Fair.
Met all the princesses. Met the fairy godmother.
And like Gabe said earlier, partied so hard that we were in line for the carousel. We got on the ride. We were sitting on the bench, the stationary bench, and she fell asleep mid-carousel ride.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up our entire trip.
Yep.
Falling asleep mid-carousel. Oh, and she liked Casey Jr. as well. She had a good time on that.
Yeah, Casey Jr. was fun.
Yeah, we had a really good trip.
Yeah. Great first trip to Disneyland.
Other than that...
Sorry, I snuck that in there. Gabe wasn't ready for it.
No, I wasn't. You surprised me.
It needed to be said, though.
Yeah, it's news.
It's the only news. If it was up to me, that would be the whole episode.
According to my list, it's not the only news.
It is the only news.
For you.
For me.
Moving on. Industry news. We have more information on Jurassic World, the ride that will be opening up this year at Universal Studios Hollywood. Jurassic World, the ride will debut an original storyline that takes place within the theme park as depicted in Universal Pictures and Amblin Entertainment's film Jurassic World on the day the Indominus Rex escapes. The exciting thrill ride will soar to new heights with an addition of several iconic dinosaurs from the movie, including the colossal Indominus Rex and the magnificent aquatic Mosasaurus that will mesmerize onlookers in her natural habitat from behind a 3 million gallon glass encased aquarium observatory tank. Don't think they're going to be adding that. I think that's going to be a screen.
Yeah, there'll probably be a screen.
The aesthetics of Jurassic World the ride will be dramatically enhanced, welcoming guests to a reimagined space reflective of the Jurassic World films. In addition, there will be a fresh new entry statement, stonework landscaping, and a contemporary redesign of the iconic Jurassic World gates illuminated with billowing flames. Engaging in interactive Q-Line videos featuring facts and information about the dinosaurs within the ride will set the tone for the expedition ahead as guests learn more about these imposing prehistoric creatures that first roamed the Earth more than 65 million years ago. Once aboard specially designed rafts, guests will navigate the lush environment of dense vegetation, traversing new areas besieged with towering dinosaurs meandering at just an arm's length away from visitors. Encounters with such docile creatures as the Stegosaurus and, oh my god, I'm gonna mess this up so hard. Parasaurolophus will quickly turn Aria's predatory velociraptors into Dilophosaurus begin to wreak havoc, turning guests from spectators to prey. When the Tyrannosaurus Rex begins to battle one of the attraction's new ferocious dinosaurs, the rafts will spill down a treacherous 84-foot waterfall as the sole means of escape. Located adjacent to the ride will be a new, elaborately themed raptor encounter where Blue, the most beloved velociraptor from the Jurassic World franchise, will engage guests in a daring face-to-face encounter. In addition, a new interactive dino play area will incorporate educational components within an inspired space where children of all ages can explore and excavate giant dinosaur fossils. So lots of fun stuff there. There's a lot of facts that are in there, and they are very quickly placed in there with little to no context to how they're going to be displayed. I can't imagine that it's going to be overtly different.
Well, I was just about to say, other than probably a screen with the giant water dinosaur.
Mosasaurus, is that what you said?
Sounds pretty similar.
Well, that's good.
Before.
I mean, I don't want it to change so drastically.
I don't want it to vastly change either, especially because given the confines of the space and all that, I don't think that they could change it drastically and still have it be very good.
Yeah.
Right?
So the Stegosauruses, I'm assuming, are going to stay the same.
Yeah.
Now the question is because they're changing it from Jurassic Park to Jurassic World, is the storyline going to change in how your boat kind of goes off course? Because originally your boat gets bumped, and instead of going through that tunnel, you get shoved to go into like the backstage area, and that's where you see the Velociraptor pen and all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming that is probably going to change.
That
might end up being like Owen's Velociraptor encounter area or something.
No, I'm pretty my guess would be where you had the big wall where the car fell.
Yeah.
That's probably where the giant water dinosaur is.
See, I thought that for a hot second, but I don't think it's going to be there. Based on construction photos, when you go up that first lift and you kind of do that little dip and you come around, originally it was water, the ever-flowing river, and then you have like the big opening with the ultrasauruses, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
That whole area now is like a completely encased building. So I'm assuming that you'll probably end up encountering him there. Because it's a completely encased building, they'll probably be able to put a screen in there.
Maybe. We'll see.
I mean, the screen would be kind of weird if you have a screen out in the daylight. It would probably not play well.
Yeah, true.
That's my guess.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, who knows? The only thing that I do know 100% unequivocally is the fact that we've already seen leaked photos of them testing the new dinosaur with the T-Rex there. So I've seen kind of like it's almost like, it's not like an animatronic that's like totally working and ready. It just was like the skeletal pieces.
Yeah.
So I've seen that. So it's going to be really cool to see that actually happen. So I'm really excited for this. We were just there to see the Dark Arts show, which, by the way, go see Dark Arts at Hogwarts Castle. It's amazing.
Go see it.
I went down to the lower lot to see if it was testing, and it's been testing. So it's really exciting to have this opening date kind of creep up on us, which is summer. No specific date has been given out yet on when the ride will actually reopen, but it should be relatively soon. Cross your fingers. I'm really excited.
We're just going to have to drop by every once in a while just to see.
Yes, exactly. Need updates. Get my fix. Next piece of news, Nikki.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Oh, sorry. I was waiting anxiously for the news.
What is the news? Give me the news.
What is it?
Well, you're the one with the news. Give yourself the news.
The next bit of news is Knott's Summer Nights, which is an all-new nighttime summer party that will liven up the night at Knott's Berry Farm. Beginning June 7th and running through August 11th, Knott's Summer Nights offers numerous ways to enjoy the nighttime festivities, as live music, food, and games take over the Knott's Midway. Where is that? Where would that be?
Knott's Midway?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not used to that word being used. Maybe they're talking about Ghost Town. I can't imagine they're talking about anything else.
That's all I can...
Oh, you know what? Maybe it's just... Maybe the Midway that they're talking about is actually the Calico Park area where the train is, and then the main Calico stage.
Maybe.
Maybe that whole area right there.
Maybe. For me, Midway, I think of the place right in front of Accelerator Q. You know, with the games and that area. I don't know. It's a weird term.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, keeping on going. Guests can enjoy a variety of bands, including Suburban Legends, Hiatus, and Suffragettes, among others, that rotate at the Calico Park stage nightly. Rock out to a top 40s band at the Calico Mine stage, or bop to beats of the Boardwalk DJ around Charleston Circle Fountain. Okay, so that's the fountain.
That's the area that
over
I
the
mentioned.
Boardwalk. Yeah. Okay. A summer night party is not complete without an abundance of food and drinks, and no theme park does food quite like Knott's. Seasonal flavors collide as the Knott's culinary team creates tasty twists to classic summer favorites. From build-your-own s'mores stations, nacho boats, grilled cheese cobbler, to handcrafted ice cream flavors, guests can experience food in a whole new way at Knott's this summer. Oversized classic games and festoon lights will set the stage for guests to enjoy their summer night at Knott's, while the Knott's party crew encourages good old-fashioned fun with games and competitions that will bring out the competitor in everyone. With a hub of live music, unique summer food offerings, Instagrammable photo opportunities, interactive experiences, and family-friendly games, Knott's Summer Nights will be an event to remember.
And this also will bring the return of Beach Blanket Beagle, which will be in the Charles M. Schultz Theater, Ghost Town Alive, and the opening of Calico River Rapids, which is going to be like that re-theme of Bigfoot Rapids.
Yeah.
My main question is, how are they going to get all those nachos on that boat? And where is that boat going to be?
Ba-dum-bum.
I'm genuinely serious. I want that nacho boat.
I also want the nacho boat. That really caught my interest. I think I oohed. Ooh.
Through that whole thing, the only words that you said that actually sounded like excited were nacho boat.
Probably.
I'm serious. Nacho boat was the big takeaway from that. Grilled peach cobbler. Come on now.
Nah, I don't like peach cobbler.
Well, we're not married anymore then.
That's fine. More nachos for me. I don't have to share.
They're the same amount of nachos.
No, I don't have to share.
I would have got my own in the first place.
True. I guess my question is, what time does this event start?
I'm assuming that it's probably going to start relatively
8,
later.
7,
Not that late.
I
I'm
don't
assuming
know.
like
6?
earlier in the evening, probably around like 4, and then run the rest of the night of the park.
But what time does Ghost Town Alive end? Usually, like
Ghost Town Alive usually runs
they end
to like
every day.
4.
They end every day with like a
4 or
hoedown
5.
or
Yeah,
something.
It usually runs to like 4 or 5.
That's usually like at 5. So I guess it would be like
They probably just pick up right after.
right after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like in this description, you could tell that it's going to be the traditional Knott's thing with a lot of really interactive things that guests get to experience. Which, personally for me, I like the incorporation of interactive materials. When not even like, usually when like we're talking about theme parks, when you say interactive, they think like, oh, it's a laser shooting game or something like that. I'm talking about the fact that it's just like basic games that they have out, big lawn games for kids to play. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It's just good old-fashioned fun that you can have with the family, and that's exactly the verbiage that they're using. It's that kind of stuff that I really like about Knott's, and also on top of that, the fact that they're going to have great entertainment. I don't recognize any of the bands, I'll be very honest about that, but they always usually have really, really, really good entertainment. And the fact that and based on all like the conceptual photos of this, it looks like one giant like party.
Yeah.
It looks like a giant like block party essentially.
Yeah, that's
in the way
awesome.
that it kind of comes across with like lots of colors, lots of lights, lots of energy.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty jazzed about seeing just another addition come to the Knott's lineup of seasonal events. And it just seems like now Knott's, it feels like there's always going to be something there now throughout the year. This
is fun because it's happening after Ghost Town Alive. So even when the daytime stuff is done at 5, it's like there's still something. I wouldn't be surprised if people come just for this. They'll like, skip the daytime stuff, it's too hot, whatever, and just show up at like 6 o'clock for this stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially like I feel like this is really going towards annual pass holders too.
Oh yeah.
Because like if you're somebody coming in from like a long way away, you're probably going to stay for it, but you're going to be there all day. You're going to be really tired. So a lot of people are going to be staying, but I feel like it's a major draw for a lot of annual pass holders to come in at night and have a good time, spend some money on food, enjoy the drinks, enjoy the park, not even necessarily have to go on a ride. It's just about being there and being present.
Yeah, so. Which Knott's does really well.
They do that. They do that very well.
Yes.
They're the words. I knew that they were there. They were on the tip of my tongue. My tongue just decided to go AWOL.
Uh-huh.
That's a weird statement. Anyway, that ends the Theme Park Bulletin. So let's jump into Haunting Headlines. We are just getting hot news left and right now, aren't we? I just feel like it's so early for it. It really isn't.
It's not that early.
This is right when we start getting news, but it just feels early.
Yeah.
It feels like this is like we're getting a treat. Like we shouldn't be getting this, and it's like the haunting gods are like, here's a little morsel for you. Here you go. But we're getting a lot of it, so it's really exciting to get a lot of news really early on. And the first news in Haunting Headlines comes from Universal Studios Hollywood with Holidayz In Hell. Inspired by the popular scare zone of the same name, the Holidayz In Hell maze will feature an original score by electronic music artist and producer Figure and offer guests new reasons to dread the holidays. A tortured tunnel of love inhabited by a crazy Cupid on the quest for hearts to break or take will make the Valentine's Day anything but romantic. An unhinged Uncle Sam will create a sinister July 4th celebration. Treacherous turkeys will gobble an unsuspecting family, and a sick Santa will adorn Christmas trees with human body parts, with many other milestone killer holidays. Those who survived the holidays need not let down their guard just yet, as a creepy Christmas-themed scare zone with additional frights awaits to fill beating hearts with holiday fear. Now, we could have called this from a mile away last year after going through Holidayz In Hell.
Well, oh, you mean the maze?
Yeah,
Air
the
quotes,
essential maze.
The
yeah.
maze.
I mean, like, come on
last
now.
year.
Like, it was a mini maze. It was like a mini outdoor maze.
I told myself that I was not going to go in here like a freaking Halloween Mr. Scrooge and just all over it. But
I like the sound effect exchange for the word.
But I just, okay, I'm excited that Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood is
doing
an original maze. I am excited about that.
Non-IP base, which is very exciting.
And I hope it leads to more and better original mazes.
You're trying very hard to be very nice.
Yes.
Unleash, I want to hear what your actual opinion is.
I think it's lazy. I think that starting up again with an original maze, they could have done a lot better. I think they could have picked something more, air quotes, original than recycling something that they did last year for maybe a popular scare zone maze from last year. You know how I feel about...
Well, we felt the same. Like, it didn't feel like a scare zone. When you're forced to walk in, like, one single direction.
Their scare zones, excluding the entrance scare zone, are getting condensed and condensed. Oh, and whatever the tunnel is, you know.
Toxic tunnel.
Toxic tunnel. Well, it was toxic tunnel last year, but aside from the tunnel and the entrance, their scare zones are so condensed and funneling that
they don't feel like scare zones.
They're not scare zones. They're outdoor mazes. Call them what they are. You know, don't label them a scare zone if they're completely avoidable and you are funneled through them like cattle. Like, it's very annoying and it's very lazy, in my opinion. Yeah. They need to be more spread out. They need to be part of the natural environment you're in. Otherwise, they are not a scare zone. And I don't think they should be labeled as such. And I exactly what I said before. For a first-time original maze coming back, like starting back with original mazes, I think it should have been a fresh idea. I don't think it should have been something that was in any way recycled from last year. And you can label it a popular scare zone all you want. Still, you should have done original, brand new.
Yeah, I understand the perspective on this. I mean, when it comes to Hollywood, I think we're a little bit jaded just because we live here and we're not used to having original content that often, like Universal Orlando does. So whenever we do get it, I feel like we're a little bit more judgmental in certain aspects, especially if it's a circumstance like this.
No. I mean, all the other original mazes that I remember, La Llorona and the
El
Cucuy, fantastic.
Yeah, but within the same token, La Llorona was based off of the scare zone that was there prior to that as well. So, I mean, there's a history of that happening.
Yeah.
El Cucuy, not so much. I don't think there was a boogeyman-style scare zone prior to that. But I do know that La Llorona was on the back lot, I believe, or I forgot where she was. Yeah. But she definitely did have an area where that character lived. Pretty sure it was the back lot, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah. But, you know, she was there prior to having her own maze. Mm-hmm. We're talking about like a person. that character, that concept was there prior to the maze actually existing. So that happens a lot. I mean, when it comes to haunts, it happens a lot where a concept is tested out as a scare zone to see if it would succeed before actually making it a full-fledged maze. Yeah. So when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights here in Hollywood, where it's mainly IP based, I don't know what the situation is, why we don't have a lot of original content when it comes to mazes. I really don't know the inner workings of the things that go on behind the scenes. But if there is that kind of push for more IP and somebody wants to do an original content, I wouldn't put it past them to say, okay, well, let's see if the audience actually wants that kind of thing. Yeah. So when they put it into a scare zone atmosphere, a scare zone in quotations for us, it allows guests to experience something that's a little bit different. And when you think about it, most of Universal's scare zones are, like outside of Trick or Treat, that was a little further in, are usually original concepts. They're not often themed scare zones to whatever IP they are. I mean, I think that Trick or Treat is a relative outlier in that. And Universal Monsters had the scare zone, the Monsters Masquerade, that was right outside of the maze, which I guess you consider that IP in a way. I mean, it's Universal's own monsters. But where was I? I lost my track here.
You were saying the scare zones are mostly original content.
Yeah, usually original content. And I feel like it's a way to test the waters, especially in a place where they only do IP. So allowing them to do a Holidayz In Hell scare zone, which was probably what they wanted to do in the first place, was a maze. And then seeing the guest reactions when they do surveys and when they leave the park and when they do, they get the emails, say like, what did you like? What didn't you like? They probably got a lot of positive reactions to that scare zone. They also asked specifically about scare zones and stuff in those types of reviews.
They do, yeah.
So they probably got a lot of really positive reaction, which allowed them to do something like this. Do I think there needs to be that situation where they test it out and then they end up doing a full-fledged maze? I don't think so. Just do the full-fledged maze.
Yeah.
Test it out. Just go for it, because people are going to enjoy themselves regardless of whether or not they understand if it's a movie or not. To me, it's really confusing. Like, as an example, they had Blumhouse. In the Blumhouse maze, it was like a series of different movies.
Yeah.
But one of them wasn't a movie. It was a made-up movie based on the little girl in, like, the trailer opening for Blumhouse movies. And Blumhouse bumpers. So I found that really confusing and very jarring. So, like, in that concept, it's like, no, you can't do them together. You have to do it completely separately.
You can't mix.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
So them testing it out as a scare zone and transferring it to a maze doesn't really bother me. Guarantee you, same shit's gonna happen with Killer Clowns from Outer Space in Universal Studios Florida. It was a scare zone just to see if it would work, because it isn't inherently scary, but people freaking loved it. They like fell head over heels for it.
Yeah.
And now it's probably gonna be a maze because it did so well.
But that's not original content. That's, IP
based.
Yeah. And, Trick or Treat, same thing. And I'm, it's like I said at the beginning, like, if this leads to a higher demand for IP or for original content mazes, if this is the jumping off point for that, then I'm very happy that a scare zone, air quotes, became a maze. Original
I don't think
content.
it bothers me as much as it bothers you.
No, it bothers me greatly. But also, like,
I'm just happy that we have an original maze.
Yeah, no, I am happy too. I just don't like the concept that much.
See, that's different because I love the concept.
It's like, I'm just a little bit jaded on this front, because I look at it and I see all of the portion of this scare zone / maze that's all the Christmas stuff. It's like, okay, that's all left over from the Krampus scare zone. And then I look at all the 4th of July stuff that's going to be in it.
The dark Christmas
scare
zone.
The dark Christmas scare zone. And I look at all the 4th of July stuff and I was like, okay, that's all the stuff left over from the Purge. It's like, I've seen it all before, except for maybe killer turkeys. Like,
well, what about Easter? They had Easter, they had St. Patrick's Day, they had Valentine's Day, they had New Year's.
Well, I'm not saying they didn't expand on it.
Yeah, they had a bunch of new stuff in there. I get what you're coming from, because I've had plenty of issues with them reusing things from prior years, and just me being able to notice it, and it just completely takes me out of it.
Yeah.
When I see recycled.
But see, there's
props.
A difference between like as fanboying, like, you've noticed like big props like Herschel's barn from one of the Walking Dead mazes. You've noticed that being used several times, but that's different. That's like, oh cool, they're using that again.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about minimal props.
Yeah, that's different than just being like in your face, this was this before. Like, I don't know, it's different.
No, I understand what you're trying to say. I totally get it. And I'm on the opposite side, because I actually really liked the concept. It just really bothered me that it was like a pseudo maze and not really a true scare zone.
Yeah.
Like, if that entire bottom lot was the scare zone, it would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I like the concept of taking something that's familiar and relatively wholesome, and completely bastardizing it and making it unbelievably weird. Like, that turkey dude was the coolest dude I've ever seen. Like, I sat in there trying to take photos of that turkey dude for so long.
I remember.
I loved his mask. It was so cool. And just, there was certain, and even going through, like, the Halloween portion of it, too, they had the ghost that was all bloodied.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really cool characters in there. And if they're able to expand on that and really delve into scenes with these characters, I think it's going to make it a lot better for you than you probably think it's going to be.
No, yeah, I'm not saying I won't like it. I just think I'm a little jaded. I just need to see it and go through it and experience it. And then I'll give an honest opinion. I won't hate it just for the sake of hating it. I will go through it and I will give an honest opinion after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just excited to see something that's original in a maze and not based on a movie, because that's what I've been asking for a bajillion years since El Kukui left.
Yeah, and if it leads to more original mazes in future years, then I'm all for it.
Exactly. So the next piece of Halloween Horror Nights news comes out of Universal Orlando Resort.
And it's my turn and my phone is off. Okay.
You're terrible at this.
Okay, so for the Universal Orlando Resort, Nightingales Blood Pit is the first original house announced for 2019. Imagine yourself transported back to ancient Rome, where a ruthless emperor reigns and gladiatorial games are put on for bloody entertainment, and add in bloodthirsty creatures, and you'll find yourself in the middle of Nightingales Blood Pit, an all-new haunted house at this year's Halloween.
You're having a hard time reading today.
Horror. Oh my god, it's split onto the next page, so I just stopped. I put a period at the word Halloween. It's an all-new haunted house at this year's Halloween Horror Nights. As the blood soaks into the earth, the Nightingales feed on the dead and dying. The Nightingales are a grisly race of creatures that have been here since the dawn of time. You may think you're familiar with their past feeding frenzies, but you haven't seen them like this. You'll try to survive alongside the gladiators as the ravenous Nightingales tear into their victims and notice that fresh blood has come into their midst. So this is like a sequel maze.
I guess it's a sequel maze. I mean,
or a prequel. It's expanding on a maze that has existed before.
Yeah, it's expanding
on the Nightingale story.
Yeah, it's expanding on the characters of the Nightingales in general.
Yeah.
So I know that Nightingales had showed up at Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando prior to this maze, which year I don't quite remember, because I did not go to it.
Yeah.
I know that the original maze was called Nightingale's Blood Prey.
Yeah.
That was the original maze. And they did show up in another haunted house over in Orlando. I think it was an anniversary house where it was like each room was kind of like based on a popular house from a certain
from the past.
So I'm trying to pull up a photo for you so that you know what these Nightingales look like, because I don't think you've ever seen them. That's what the Nightingales look like right there.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen those before in videos.
It's actually really creepy, but also a little dated.
I would say dated. Yes, maybe they'll refresh it for this year.
Oh, I'm assuming they're probably gonna update the masks to a certain extent.
Yeah,
because they seem a little silly now.
They
at
do.
least in my opinion, they seem a little
do.
silly now.
Like when you think Nightingales, I don't think what I just saw in the picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Something a little bit more ethereal and like gaunt and.
Oh yeah, that's a big word, ethereal.
Ooh. And like, not to sound weird, but a little bit more sexy.
I guess so. I would
picture.
get that. I can understand that.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on the backstory, which I'm not super familiar with, because obviously I don't go to Halloween Horror Nights Orlando or Universal, whatever we call it, Halloween Horror Nights in Florida, Universal Studios Florida. I don't go there that often. We've only been once. But overall, I like the concept of the maze, and I really like the theming behind it. You know, ancient Rome, that's really cool. And the way that sets in set decor have been done in years prior, at least at Universal Studios Florida, and the year that we went, I have no doubt that they're going to blow this thing out of the water when it comes to set design. Like, it's going to be incredible, especially based on how it's described. I'm really excited to see videos and flow-throughs of this particular maze.
Yeah.
Because of how it's described.
Yeah, it should be a good one.
Yeah. And that's just another one of their original mazes that are going to be, there's going to be 10 mazes this year at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Florida.
Or houses, as they call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Houses. Mazes. I have there probably 5 of them are going to be original mazes.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Yeah.
Which makes me super jealous.
They're super popular over there. Their original content mazes.
If not more popular than the IP mazes.
I'd say more popular.
Based on the year that we went, and also listening to like everybody on UUOP talk about Halloween Horror Nights, specifically Darren, and the way he talks about stuff, it really sounds like the original concept mazes are the big ones that people really end up liking.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to have any concept of what it is before going into it.
Yeah.
You have a name and then a concept, and you go in, period, and you don't know what you're going to expect. I think in a way that could be a lot more terrifying than having a movie based on Scream, because at some point you're like, okay, I'm going to come in the face with Ghostface. This scene's going to happen from this movie, and this scene's going to happen from this movie. You have like an idea in your head.
Yeah.
You can set yourself up. But when you go into a completely original concept, you have no idea what you're going to face when you go into that maze. And like for me, going into what was the one that we went when we went to Orlando a couple years ago?
Our favorite one, the water one, was it called Dark Water?
No. I'm talking about the Scarecrow, the Reaping.
Oh,
the Reaping.
Yeah.
To me, that one was terrifying. Like, it was really intense, and I had no idea what I was going to come face to face with in there. And just the way that the maze was designed, and the way the scares kind of came at you from every single direction.
And the sound they made.
And the sounds when they popped out were fantastic.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorites. But the boat one, that one was the most impressive to me.
Yeah, I forgot the name of that one.
I want to say something Waters.
Or something like that. Yeah, I remember it had the giant boat as soon as you walked in, and it was tilted sideways, which was super cool. So, really excited to see the design for all of this and see any pictures that kind of come up, and hope for an awesome maze.
Yeah.
So, that leads us to the end of the news, which leads us into our main topic of the episode, which is a history episode all about Jaws the Ride. So Jaws the Ride is a classic attraction from years past at Universal Studios Florida, a ride that got taken over for Harry Potter themed land, which would be Diagon Alley. And a lot of people have still said that this ride is gone. It was still one of those unique attractions where they utilized a live actor on the boat, just like they would do for Jungle Cruise, but in a little bit more of an intense dynamic, especially given the concept of the attraction itself.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's gone makes me a little sad, because it was still one of those attractions that kind of, other than Jungle Cruise, it was really one of the few that really utilized something like that. I mean, now in Fast and Furious, they have a room where they have somebody talking to you, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad that we lost a very popular attraction that utilized something that was very unique like that. But ultimately, Diagon Alley is pretty amazing, so I'm not that sad. I mean, obviously, I'm not a Florida local who went to Universal Studios Florida all the time.
I would miss it a lot.
Or grew up with Jaws the Ride.
If I grew up with it, yeah.
Oh, I guarantee you, if I grew up with Jaws the Ride in it and I lost it, I would be in tears.
Yeah.
I would be in tears. I mean, like, I was in tears when I lost Back to the Future, so I could associate it in that way.
We all know about me and E.T.
Yeah, we've gone over that a billion times.
Let's not rehash that.
No, never, because I don't want tears. And spilled ice cream. I don't know why I said that. I don't know.
There was no ice cream involved.
There was ice cream. Lots
I was
of it.
crying in the
rain,
there was a lot of ice
cream.
But we know this. Okay, let's go.
So Jaws the ride, it opened at Universal Studios Florida on June 7th of 1990, and it was an opening day attraction at the park. It was designed by Ride and Show Engineering Inc. We all know that this story of this attraction goes downhill relatively quickly. Jaws the Ride was a boat ride in which guests board Captain Jake's Amity Boat Tours with their skipper for a tour around Amity Island. The original attraction at Universal Studios Florida was inspired by a small attraction on the long-running studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood. So the one that we go on quite often.
Yeah.
Because that one was way back in 1974, I believe. That one started a long time ago.
That was way before this one opened. You know, ours is just a tiny little snippet of the studio tour. But, I mean, it's still something I look forward to every time I go through it.
No, the Jaws tour, the Jaws portion is my favorite portion.
Yeah.
It really is. And when they were designing Universal Studios Florida, before it even existed, instead of actually taking up the tram tour that we have in Hollywood and just completely transplanting it, putting it over there, they decided to look at all the popular portions of it and build attractions based off of those.
I think that's a much better idea because it would kind of feel forced to have a tram tour out there for,
It's not a working studio. They tried to make it a working studio, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It was a very natural progression of how Universal Studios turned from just a working studio into a theme park.
Yeah.
So the concept of taking the bits and pieces of the tram tour and actually expanding upon that is, like you said, it's smart. It's a much better idea. So they had Earthquake Ride It Out, and they also had Confrontation, which I don't know about Earthquake. I mean, I don't think you need a whole ride on that.
No,
but King Kong was a perfect example of how you could build a ride further out.
Yeah.
And have it be a very successful attraction. I know that was kind of plagued with some issues, but still, when I look at videos and photos of that attraction, I'm blown away. And even the ride system was very unique for that. It's suspended above and you're going over and you go by King Kong and your whole car would drop.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it seemed super amazing.
No, it was very, very impressive.
Okay, so when they were thinking of the concept for this ride, obviously they were kind of trying to compete with another big park that was coming up
CMGM Studios.
in Florida at the time. It opened very shortly before Universal did.
Yeah, I think they were neck and neck, and Universal was kept getting pushed back with their opening date because there was so many issues that they were having. Yeah. So they were in direct competition.
Yeah. So and of course, probably it's competition out here in Hollywood too. So they were constantly trying to out Disney. So they were constantly trying to make their attractions bigger and better than those of their competing company. So Peter Alexander, in charge of the creative side of the park, originally envisioned the Jaws ride as a larger water ride with a Jaws scene. But Jay Stein, his boss, wanted instead to base the entire ride around the movie.
I feel like if that happened, that would have been a huge mistake. Because Jaws as a IP is perfect, as we can see, because of the history of this attraction.
Yeah.
For an entire attraction. But also, if you were to use Jaws as only one portion of a water ride, what else would you put in that water ride?
That's exactly what I was thinking. What else would the rest be? Would it be a generic water ride?
Because I feel like everything would end up clashing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense.
Would it be a Rapids ride and then all of a sudden, oh no, Jaws, and then back to normal Rapids ride? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, or a boat ride where Jaws attacks, but then it's mixed with other water moments from other movies,
I can't even...
Parting the Red Sea or something. You go between the tram used to have or
and
something.
And then it's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Or something. I have no idea. What would you end up doing when Jaws is only a portion of it?
Yeah.
And I think what they ended up doing with building a Jaws attraction that completely encompassed the story allowed for them to kind of play with a lot of attention and actually it being a little bit more intense than it just being a moment on the studio tour. Because the studio tour isn't scary. I mean, for kids it is. It's a giant shark jumping in your face.
Yeah, and if you're seated on the right side of the tram and you don't know what's coming, it's your first time on the ride, it's pretty startling.
Well, It's startling, but there is no tension building.
No, it's not like, oh no, I'm in danger.
Yeah, I mean, and also if you're like in car 3, you're
yeah. Now, car 1 is the one that gets the big scare, and maybe
you just
the
hear
beginning
the water
of car 2
flying up in the air, so you see Jaws coming from a mile away.
Yeah, and there's also a disconnect. You feel more safe on the tram because you're not in the water in a boat.
You're on the shore.
Yeah, you're a little less secure in a boat. The sense of impeding danger is a little bit more right there in your face.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so going back to the ride in Florida, the ride that was their opening day was actually quite different than the ride that appeared a few years later and stayed until 2012. So the opening day ride that a few people got to experience cost $30 million to make, which it was a lot.
Back in the day, that's a lot.
But adjusted for inflation, it would be for like a ride costing about $53 million to make. The original version of the ride was very different. First, the boats were much flimsier looking, which enhanced the feeling of danger for the guests.
Is that really what?
Is that why?
Is it real danger or like fabricated danger? Because that sure sounds like someone's like, those boats really don't look like they were made well.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't go on this ride. It's like going to the county fair and you hear the bolts shaking out of the restraints.
Yeah. It's like, was that...
purposefully done?
Was that purposefully done?
Was it?
Yeah. Or afterwards, where they're just like, "Oh no, they're meant to be that way. It's to make the guests feel more like they're more in danger."
Because they are in more danger.
We meant to do that. The sharks used in the version weighed 3 tons and were 24 feet long and moved through the water with a thrust equivalent to that of a Boeing 747 engine. I heard that it was like 20 miles per hour. No, what was it?
How fast they came out of the water?
Yeah, we just
20-something miles per hour. They came out of the water very
20
quick.
feet per second or so. 20 feet per second, I think that was it. They moved very fast.
Very fast.
Yeah. Don't quote us on the speed, but
I'm not an animatronic and water thrusting out into the air expert.
Yeah.
That's the technical name of the position that I'm talking about.
The lagoon contained 2,000 miles of electrical wire and 7,500 tons of steel. The animatronic sharks were controlled with computer-guided hydraulic systems. Mm-hmm. You keep going.
What?
Oh, you were going to talk.
Yeah. Okay. What is this, the Nikki Show?
Yeah, okay.
Theme Park Solo?
You go. I'm just on a roll. You go.
So, as everybody knows, I mean, this is very famous theme park history. The ride was a colossal failure, and not because it wasn't fun or anything. The ride just simply didn't work.
It was down a lot, for whatever reason.
It was down all the time.
Like down more than it was open. And
even on opening day, there was so many issues across the board from, power outages to rides just not working. The other 2 rides that were there on opening day, Earthquake as well as Confrontation, both of those were able to get along just fine and they could figure it out and make it work. Jaws just didn't work, period.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of issues with that. And that was like one of the attractions that they were building up. And the fact that they weren't able to actually have something working perfectly is kind of an issue in its entirety, in my opinion. Just a lot of technical issues, a ton of technical issues. And, even to the point where the ride got to the point where guests could get on and experience it, not everything was working perfectly. And team members were telling, other team members, like their bosses were telling them to tell people that the ride was in technical rehearsals so that guests, when they would ride, they wouldn't be disappointed
if something wasn't working.
Wasn't working. But even then, they would even tell guests on top of that, "Oh, Jaws, the ride isn't open. It's closed. It's not working." Regardless of what the status of the attraction actually was, which is a little insane to think about. The fact that you have to preface one of the attractions in your park of it's not working, regardless if it's working or not, just so guests didn't complain, because they were just being inundated with complaints about the attraction itself.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that one of the main reasons why the ride had so many problems was because of the shark itself.
It's like the movie.
That's what I was about to say. It's like fate almost, because one of the big problems with Jaws the movie was the sharks, not working, and I just think that's really, really funny. And so part of the problem was because they were so big and they weighed so much that the amount of drag caused by the actions of the sharks was a big reason why it broke down a lot. Just
the components of making the sharks actually work, just all that pressure on them just was such a big deal. Like it would cause them to break down so often.
Yeah, Adam Bazark, who would later oversee the ride's redesign, was quoted by saying, "You can imagine how complex it must be to get one giant mechanical watercraft to swim up and bite another giant mechanical watercraft, which is moving, which is the boat." So the shark lunges from like a dead stop to a really fast speed and bites the boat. So, that takes a lot of
precision.
And there were a lot of faults that went in with that. Sometimes the shark would miss, sometimes the shark would actually bite the boat.
Yeah.
And the most bizarre thing to me in this whole thing was that those animatronic sharks, they put in real shark teeth.
I don't get that. I don't get that decision at all. I mean, I guarantee you some guy who was designing the ride was like, "Yo, it would be super dope if our sharks had real shark teeth." Everyone's like, "That's awesome. It totally should. Super authentic.
And
it's
we
gonna
should
look
make
great."
It seem like they're biting the boats. They totally won't do actual damage to the boats with those real shark teeth.
And then the boats ended up being flimsy.
Yeah.
Pontoon
to
boats.
enhance the feeling of
The
danger.
fear.
Yeah.
And now I'm scared that this animatronic shark's going to take my boat down for real.
What?
No, I mean, I'm sure somebody had a logical reason behind actually using real shark teeth, but with how many times the shark had to lunge out of the water each and every day, which was hundreds, it's not going to be perfect, and it was going to hit that boat eventually. And the fact that those shark teeth were real, it's going to damage the boat.
Yeah.
Which ended up happening. The boats were actually taking a lot of damage because it was just such a specific movement it needed to make, and it wasn't perfect every single time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's to no one's fault, because how are you supposed to gauge how to program this thing coming out of the water? It's very difficult.
Yeah. It was just...
It's a cool idea in concept. The fact that the shark is supposed to jump out of the water, bite the boat, and move it around.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's what you would expect out of a Jaws attraction, which is what it was. I mean, that's what it was.
But if you're going to do that, use rubber teeth.
Yeah. Or just make your shark a gummer. It's all gums.
Grandpa the shark.
Stop singing Baby Shark. Gosh dang it. We have to deal with it with our kid all the time.
It's all I know.
We're recording a podcast. It's the time I get to escape from Baby Shark. Baby Shark is terrifying.
I hear Baby Shark so much.
You probably hear it in your sleep.
I probably do.
Should make a Baby Shark attraction.
It's scarier than any Jaws ride.
No, they should have just taken the Jaws attraction and changed it to Baby Shark the ride, and you're just on the boat, and all you hear is Baby Shark playing very, 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 very low.
Uh-huh.
Just to the point where you could barely hear it, and someone's just like, "Do you guys hear that?" And it just starts getting a little louder, like it's coming from underneath the water. It's muffled. And it gets louder and louder, and all of a sudden your boat's vibrating with Baby Shark, and then all of a sudden Pink Fong just flies out of the water and just attacks the boat. It'd be funny.
That's so scary.
That's terrifying.
I'd rather hear It's a Small World on repeat than Baby Shark on repeat.
No, I'd rather hear Baby Shark on repeat, I think. Anyway, super off track. Needless to say that because of all these issues with the attraction, Universal really didn't have any other decision to make other than closing the attraction for a, quote, refurb.
Yeah.
But that refurb didn't reopen to the point where they wanted it to be, so they ended up just completely scrapping everything. Can you imagine opening up an attraction for a park that you just opened, for it not to work, and it was so bad that you actually had to completely scrap everything and rebuild from the beginning? That's unbelievable to me.
Colossal failure.
Could you imagine them building Galaxy's Edge, and then they're like, yeah, this doesn't work. And they closed it and then tore it all down and built it again.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
That's crazy.
I mean, those are two different things, obviously. Like, one's a $56 million attraction. The other one's like $1 billion land, pretty much. But, I mean, I don't think Disney would end up doing that.
Yeah.
They would just make it work.
They would make it work.
But to me, that's like the equivalent in my head. Like, that's just absolutely bonkers. And they ended up suing the company. The company was named Ride and Show Engineering Inc. They ended up suing them based on poor design and not having it done right.
Yeah.
But they actually ended up settling out of court. And I know that Ride and Show really made it known that they said that Universal didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
They thought that Universal was giving unrealistic expectations and not knowing how to work with the ride. And I think they went on record even saying, like, if we give this Disney would make it work.
Yeah.
Which is a huge blow, especially given the fact that they're in this time period, they are in such huge competition with each other. So that's like a slap in the face. That's like, ooh,
slap.
sick burn. So, I mean, I don't know.
Who knows if it's true or not? To me, this sounds like a pretty bad design, though. If your sharks can't jump out of the water, if they can't do what they were designed to do.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of other problems with the attraction other than just the sharks, but that's the main meat and potatoes of your ride.
Yeah.
It's called Jaws the Ride. If you don't have Jaws, it's just the ride. There's nothing else to it. So, I mean, I would probably, based on everything I hear about this story, it really does sound like a flaw in design. It doesn't sound like a flaw or a problem with Universal maintaining it.
Yeah.
Just sounds like it was like set up to fail almost. You know what I mean? Like, it was imperfect.
Sounds like it, yeah.
So eventually, after having completely scrapping the original ride, they ended up redesigning and building a new attraction. And the new attraction was using the same layout and the same spaces as the original ride. And for their new version of the ride, Universal hired several different contractors to hold the ride's components separately. So Totally Fun Company, ITEC Entertainment, Intimate, and Oceaneering International were all hired to build the different portions of the ride. The new collaborators installed an entirely different ride system and different special effects from the original ride. Universal was determined not to repeat the mistakes and refused to open a new Jaws ride until any technical problems could be fixed and the ride would be reliably working. And the two scenes that were removed from the attraction that were from the first one were the one we were making fun of, where the shark bites the boat and is supposed to be moving it.
Yeah.
And then the ending of the finale of the attraction, where it really mirrored the ending of the first film, where Brody shot the shark and he exploded.
Whoa.
So
yeah, that didn't happen anymore.
No, not anymore. I mean, it is sad because that's a really cool ending, especially because it mirrors the movie. And the fact that they had this whole technology built up where they were able to basically filter everything down and reshoot guts and blood into the air.
Yeah.
It came back into the water and then filter it back into it again, which is relatively impressive. I mean, in general, the first version and iteration of this attraction was beyond complicated. Like, you would think, like, oh, yeah, it's a ride where monsters jump out of the water and stuff. It's relatively simple. Like, you would think it's simple, but it's not. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this thing, and especially this new version as well.
Yeah, so the boat biting scene and the shark blowing up finale were replaced with the now well-known gas dock explosion and electrocution scenes, which the electrocution scene. The electrocution scene.
Go on to Macy's and get your electrocution sheen. It makes you look real nice and toasty.
This scene of electrocution is is more in line with the ending of the second Jaws movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at least it's still tied into the movie franchise in a way.
Yeah, so according to Peter Alexander, the decision was made to not try to keep these original scenes because everything else in the original ride was such a big hit that there was no point in preserving them.
So one of these new scenes that we were talking about, which is the one that everyone remembers, the explosion, that huge dock explosion.
Yeah.
One of the people that we had mentioned earlier, Adam Bazark, was actually one of the people who helped kind of bring that in and really just sit out in the water and make it what it is today. And I know that with this particular attraction, they wanted that fire to be so close to you that it feels dangerous.
Yeah.
But not so close to where you're actually in any danger.
Yeah.
So I know that he actually sat out on the water right where your boats would be, and he would be telling the people to turn up the fire as far as it could until he actually felt pain, and then he would then turn it down. So people actually, when this ride actually reopened, people would end up complaining because they're like, I got burned, which they didn't actually get burned.
The people that were complaining were the ones with sunburns.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
you already had sunburn as it was.
Yeah.
And this really, really intense heat made you think that you got burnt, which to me is...
It's like when the steam from a shower hits a burn and...
Yeah. No, it's a success to me. Like, the fact that you're able to convince people that you actually burn them.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But this dock explosion is huge. Like, it's no joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really big.
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting. And that's something that I feel like only Universal would do, which I find very, very funny.
Yeah.
Very, very funny. And the new sharks obviously were made much more reliable, lunging in the water with an equivalent force to a 500 horsepower engine. They were attached to a 12-ton hydraulic lift that moved them through the water. The skippers, and essentially part of the ride experience, were now forced to undergo 5 days of training and have an acting coach sign off on them before they were considered fully qualified for the ride.
That's good.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, it's what I would expect from Universal Studios, you know? I mean, for a ride where such a big portion of the guest experience relies on the skipper, you know, I would hope that they would make them have to go through that training, because unlike a ride mechanically, you know, with gears that you can predict what's going to happen, you can't predict what's going to happen with a live employee all the time. So you want to make sure they're as trained as you possibly can. Especially if there's some mishaps or something that was a problem, something that they could easily ad-lib around. You want to know they can ad-lib. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess that's another reason why they're kind of doing that away. Doing away with it, because it's a little bit unpredictable and it's hard to manage. Yeah. I mean, there's been plenty of times we've been on the Jungle Cruise. I'm pretty sure the jokes that I've heard are not Disney approved jokes. Yeah. And that's because they could get away with it every now and again. Like the joke about, you see that toucan, it used to be part of a six-pack. I'm pretty sure that's not a Disney approved joke. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened a lot on this ride, which probably was another reason for Universal to be like, yeah, we're not going to be doing that again. We don't really want to do that, which also leads to the fact that King Kong has freaking animatronic drivers and like mannequin drivers for Fast and Furious. Yeah. So, I don't know. Not like a driver would be doing much for you anyway in those rides. I think that's just cutting down on employee costs. Yeah. If you don't need an actual driver. I feel like it would be cheaper to hire somebody than it would be to build a animatronic. You don't know. Over the years. Maybe. The cost of just one more employee. I guess so. Know. I don't know. Just make them permalance. Don't hire them full time. Like, you're here to drive boats and cars for like an hour, then go home. Another new addition to this version of the ride was dads. That's DADS, not like fathers. Which I actually could not find what the acronym stood for. Yeah. Like, I kept searching and I could not find it. I mean, like, I'm sure it's somewhere. Yeah. Guarantee you the S stands for system. And one of the D's stands for digital. Yeah. Digital aquarium. Digital system. Digital system. digital aquatic doodad system. There you go. Let's go, dads. The program used to control the sharks. It displayed a 3D virtual image of what was happening on the ride and allowed operators to control their movements. It also detected any technical issues with the sharks.
And so finally, the new iteration of the Jaws ride officially reopened in spring of 1993. And this new version of the Jaws ride cost Universal $40 million. And the petroleum used for the boats and the dock explosion cost the company about $2 million a year.
Yikes, which was a big reason for it closing in 2012.
Well, because it's one of the most, if not the most expensive attraction to run, simply based on that one effect. You'd think they'd think about that well ahead of time before approving something like that.
I think they were just so desperate to get a ride out, in working order that they just did what they needed to do at the time.
True. And through the years, there have been minor changes to the attraction, but this was the iteration of the ride that everybody remembers and loves and holds very near and dear to them, and has all those really great memories of.
Yeah.
And even though at that point it has come to become one of those iconic attractions, it still didn't escape issues.
Yeah.
I feel like it was plagued with issues its entire existence.
Yeah.
And one of these major issues was being approached by the Department of Environmental Protection to fix improper disposal of pollutants in the ride during drainages. So they would drain the ride every now and again to clean out the attraction, because they would just need to.
Yeah. Just
major maintenance. So according to this, that the Department of Environmental Protection was actually tipped off that there was floating oil being spotted in some of the stormwater ponds, and tests showed high levels of petroleum pollutants and heavy metals. In June 1995, it ordered Universal to clean up its act. The company was forced to apply for an industrial wastewater permit, requiring it to conduct regular tests on water leaving the ride. The most significant change, though, was the switch to a different hydraulic fluid. This is really funny to me. This is really funny. A different hydraulic fluid, one that was non-toxic and biodegradable. However, this caused a major controversy because the new oil was made by Mobil, but the official sponsor of Confrontation and the official motor oil of Universal Studios Florida was Texaco. So there was a lot of drama over the switch, which to me is just... It's like if your side chick found out about your main chick. That's really what it is. I find that really, really, really funny.
Or if your main chick found out about your side chick.
Either way.
Yeah. So following the 2004... Oh, another issue. Sorry. I thought it was
on top of that, another issue, which we alluded to just literally 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, so following the 2004 hurricane season, Universal decided to temporarily close the ride from January to December 2005 due to rising gas prices. It was reopened seasonally in December, only operating on busy days until February 2007. During its nearly year-long closure, several renovations were made to the ride. This included a cleanup in queue, repainted boats, and repainted sharks. Unfortunately, this refurbishment also included a reduction of the fire effects. It was refurbished every year until 2011.
So, it's weird, because when you're planning an attraction, like I had said earlier, you would think, oh, we need this much gas or petroleum in order to make this effect work.
Yeah.
You would think that they would take into account the price of that while doing it. Is it a situation of they just said, F it, we want to do this because we need a working attraction, we want something impressive?
Yeah.
Or they really just didn't think ahead of how much money it was going to cost them in order to operate the attraction based on that?
Well, who knows how much also gas... Well, someone knows how much gas costs in 93. But, maybe it wasn't that much to the point where they were thinking, okay, long term, who even knows if they expected this ride to last that long?
That's true.
Almost 20 years, so who knew if they were thinking long term like that? Like, oh, let's, make this ride with this expensive effect and let's run the ride for nearly 20 years. Who knows if they were thinking that far into the future? Because, maybe they were thinking like 5 years, 10 years, who knows? So,
yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into this.
Yeah.
And to me, the fact that it costs that much to make that effect happen is just astonishing.
I think...
Like, it makes my jaw drop every time I hear that fact.
I think bottom line is a lot of money put into a colossal failure. A lot of money desperately trying to fix the colossal failure. They were willing to do whatever it took to get a working ride out. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
See, I wish that was the case with Disney and Rocket Rides. Like, let's fix it. Let's bank the turns. We'll do that and fix the problem, and then we'll have a quote, better ride.
Let's not leave the sad corpse of a failure up there
for everyone to see.
Yeah, for who knows how long.
That's a wake that has lasted way too long. And the stench has become overbearing of Tomorrowland.
It's so sad.
But we're not talking Disney, we're talking Universal.
Yeah.
So eventually, the end came for Jaws the Ride. On December 2nd of 2011, Universal announced that Jaws the Ride and the entire Amity area of the park would be permanently closed to make way for the new Diagon Alley expansion of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. The announcement prompted severe backlash that did nothing to affect the planned closure. So a lot of people were really unhappy about the announcement that this ride was closing, which shows you the kind of impact the ride made on fans of the park and just theme park goers in general.
Yeah.
And probably people who are fans of the movie at the same time.
Yeah.
So on January 12th of 2012, the last 48 riders experienced the attraction for the final time. And what I find the funniest is that, you know, based on the history of the ride and things not working, things going wrong, and it plagued with issues, it's only perfect and truly meant to be that the last shark you're supposed to see didn't work. And people who rode this for the last time didn't get to see the last shark.
That's so
because
sad.
of technical issues.
That's so sad.
It's the same. We keep bouncing back to Disney. It's the same thing with people who rode Ellen's Energy Adventure for the last time, and it broke down, and people got to walk out of it.
But that's cool. You got to walk out of it. What happened if Jaws broke down? Did you have to get a boat out?
Yeah, I'm assuming they would have to have like somebody tow your boat out.
Yeah.
Like, it's on a track, so I mean they would just tow you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what it would be. So, following the day after that, walls were immediately put up and demolition took place over the next few months to make way for Diagon Alley. Now, if you're still craving your Jaws ride, you can always just hop on a flight to Japan and go to Universal Studios Japan and go on the ride there.
I not lying though. I really want to go
on the ride.
Yeah, who knows how long it's going to be open in Japan? I want to see it.
The fact that Back to the Future the ride was there for so long shocked me.
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows how long Jurassic Park the ride? Who knows how long Jaws the ride has left there at Universal Studios Japan?
It's nearly identical to the Florida version, and I want to see it. So let's go.
I'm sure a ton of people who are massive fans of this attraction have already flew to Japan to ride it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a similar situation where we lost T2 3D a long time ago. When we went to Halloween Horror Nights, literally the day we landed was the last day of T2 3D at Universal Studios in Orlando. And I was dying because
we didn't have a ticket for that day.
We didn't have a ticket for that day, but at the same time, I didn't want to go on an attraction that I held so fondly and remembered so greatly and go on a version of it that just was not upkept.
Yeah.
That's subpar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not saying that Jurassic Park again.
Jaws.
Not saying that Jaws in Universal Studios Japan is subpar. Just saying that, you know, maybe people who have that nostalgic fond
memories. Yeah.
The nostalgic memory of it, maybe want to just keep it the nostalgic memory.
Yeah.
So,
maybe.
I don't know. But just because Jaws the Ride disappeared for good from the Universal Studios Florida park doesn't mean that it was gone forever. There are still some Easter eggs that are laid around the place.
It's still gone forever.
No, it's not gone forever because there's Easter eggs. There's still bits of the ride around.
It's still gone forever.
No, there's bits of the ride around. It's still there. It'll make me sad. So there's still Easter eggs of the attraction scattered around Diagon Alley.
Yeah. So
some of the things you could find.
So one of them is inside the queue for Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts. ride. Ride. In Bill...
Ride. Inside the ride.
I'm a prepubescent boy. In Bill Weasley's office, a wood crate is still...
A wood crate sits underneath the stairs on the right side of the office. That crate came right from the Jaws ride.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
hijacking my sentence.
The hijack sentence that you couldn't finish?
I was on the struggle bus. I will admit.
You were chained to the struggle bus.
I was chained to the wheel.
You could not get off of the struggle bus. You were completely strapped to it.
You want to take the next one?
Do you want to take the next one?
Driver of the struggle bus.
The driver of the struggle bus. If you can handle it, go for it.
No, I can't handle it. It's a big paragraph.
I'm scared. I'm not leaving my seat off of the struggle bus on this one. There are a lot of different references to the various record titles, but one will stick out to Jaws fans of the Jaws film. Here's to Swimmin' with Bow-Legged Women by the Quint Trio is a tribute to the character Quint in Jaws. One of his lines from the movie, inside a window display to the left of... this is another one. Of Florine and Fortescue's, you'll find a shark jawbone hanging behind a display rack. There's also a shark jawbone inside the Borgin and Burke store. So that's actually the reason why that paragraph is so big is because it was actually two put together. I just actually forgot to press enter.
Forgot.
I forgot to press return. So you can have the next one then.
Okay. Okay. Another Easter egg is all around the upper sections of Weizsäcker's. I'm assuming that's a shop.
Yeah.
Weizsäcker's shop. There are various kinds of telescopes and other things. Most of the telescopes are made of brass parts from the Jaws attraction. One telescope in particular features parts from... Sorry. You have pictured above in quotation marks.
I didn't include the photo.
Picture.
Did not include a photo.
One telescope in particular features parts... Sorry, I read pictured above again. Okay. Get it together. Okay. One telescope in particular...
One telescope in particular features parts from a large brass ship compass that was located in the former attractions queue.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
Struggle bus big time. Now you are being dragged by the struggle bus. You are literally behind the struggle bus, just getting dragged.
Back to that sentence though, it's kind of morbid that it's like the guts of the ride are like reused like that.
Yeah, I mean, people dig it. It's just bits and pieces, you know what I mean?
Okay, let me redeem myself.
Okay. I'm going to allow you to redeem yourself if that is even possible.
Okay. The blacksmith shop features 2 interactive wand elements, but also some old props from the Jaws ride, including various chains and a rope ladder. I did it!
I'm so proud of you.
Thank
I'm so
you.
proud you made it off the struggle bus. So the last Easter egg that lives within Diagon Alley is another interactive wand element that features a Jaws tribute is located in Knottern Alley. These shrunken heads like to sing many songs, but one song in particular, Show Me the Way to Go Home, is one that Brody, Hooper, and Quint sing in the film. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Yeah, that song.
That's a nice Easter egg.
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. I like that one. It's a little bit more, on the nose than the rest of them are. Like you just see it like Jaws, like a jawbone, like you don't think Jaws the ride. I actually remember seeing that jawbone when we were in Knottern Alley, and I didn't even think anything of it.
Yeah.
It was way over my head.
That's cool though that they put a few little nods in there. It's like in Disney having the sign from Eeyore parking in Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, or the heads of what are the
Max, Buff, and Melvin.
Yeah, in the Winnie the Pooh ride. Yeah. So it's like little things like that, just remembering the past as you move into the future.
Well, Universal does that a lot.
Oh yeah.
They tend to pay homage to attractions that used to be there. So like in the Mummy attraction, which used to be Confrontation, there's a King Kong statue in the room where all the gold pieces are.
Yeah.
Then even the Back to the Future attraction that used to be which got taken over by the Simpsons ride, Doc Brown makes an appearance in the Q-Line video. So they do often pay homage to attractions of the past, even though Universal has been known to turnover rides relatively quickly.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of sad because Universal, and we've had this conversation before on the show, doesn't often keep rides that long for them to become classics. They end up leaving because their whole business is built around building rides that are from the movies.
Yeah.
And these movies need to be current for them. So a lot of things end up leaving in order for them to be updated and more current. So, I mean, a great example is like Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was a classic film that no one will forget, but it's very old compared to Jurassic World, where a lot of younger people are more familiar with Owen as a character and Blue and every situation that comes from there and the Indominus Rex. So they're going to want the ride to revolve around that story as opposed to the original content from the other movie.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot where we don't get to kind of live with a ride for a long period of time. I mean, 20 years is pretty good. That's longer than most.
And I feel like in Florida, they have a little bit more longevity, or it seems to be the case that they have a little bit more longevity than they do in Hollywood.
Yeah, with Hollywood, like, almost everything is gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Back to the Future is gone.
E.T.
E.T. is gone. Backdraft is gone. You have Transformers.
Yeah.
T2 is gone. I mean, Jurassic Park is now Jurassic World.
There's so much more.
The Fievel's Playland water area. It was where is where the Wizarding World is.
What's where Kung Fu Panda is?
Shrek. Shrek's gone. Well, Shrek sucked.
Shrek was terrible anyway.
Shrek was terrible. I mean, like if you go to the back lot, you used to have the Mummy spinning room. That's gone now.
Oh, not to mention Parting the Waters, the Parting of the Seas,
the Falling Bridge.
Yeah. Well, and some of that is obviously the fire. King Kong.
Yeah, there's stuff that happened.
But. Who knows if King Kong would have even survived the Song of the Fire? It never happened.
I feel like if the fire never happened, I feel like it would probably still be going. I have faith. I still have faith that if King Kong never caught fire,
they would have kept it. Yeah, I agree. Because King Kong everyone loved King Kong.
It's really impressive. I mean, even for being an older version, it was still very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Even I remember going on it as a kid and still being very terrified of that thing.
Can a fire happen in a Fast and Furious? Please. I prefer the old Fast and Furious version with the cars on the arms.
The cars on the Kuka arms?
Yeah. I
actually do as well.
Yeah. With the gasolina music. I prefer that cheesiness.
But then it was also like a good example of how movies are made.
Yeah.
That is the technology they end up using. Not some weird like projection thing that just does not feel real.
It fit in with the tram tour. It was a staged example
behind the scenes
of
look.
How movies are made.
Yeah.
Whereas the stupid Fast and Furious thing they have now is just stupid. Fast and Furious thing is stupid. That's all.
Well said.
Yeah.
Very eloquent.
Stink pickle.
We're all family here.
Ugh.
Yeah, a little weird.
Okay.
Just smash the thumb drive that they used to take it from here to over to Florida so that they can never do it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I understand what you're saying. Like the rides in Orlando have a little bit more longevity based on the fact that there's a lot more room to build and a lot more room to do something new instead of having to get rid of the old to build the new.
Yeah.
Which they still end up doing every now and again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It is the progression of time. It is the progression of a theme park. I mean, that's going to happen regardless of where you are, whether it's Disney, not Disney, Universal, Six Flags, SeaWorld, Knott's Berry Farm. Old attractions are going to go away eventually.
The only exception, I think, is Disneyland. Certain parts of Disneyland are untouchable.
Do you see a world where Haunted Mansion doesn't exist anymore?
No.
Do you see a world where Pirates of the Caribbean doesn't exist anymore?
I think there's certain parts of Disneyland that are untouchable. I think that's Fantasyland and the Hub and like basically anything Walt touched.
Okay, so taking it from Disney to Universal.
Yeah.
Do you see a Universal park that exists without the tram tour. Because to me,
I see that's where it's going.
The only thing that is at Universal, to me, that's untouchable, is that tram tour.
That's, to me, I
simply
agree.
based on the fact that it is unbelievably unique and different from the Universal Studios Florida park.
To me, the Universal Studios Hollywood tram tour 10 years ago was untouchable. I think they are slowly changing it into an abomination.
Ooh, that's a harsh statement.
No, that's the way I feel.
An abomination?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
An abomination.
I've said before, 20 years from now, it's just going to be tunnel of screens.
So just because Fast and the Furious is there means that you're mad.
I think that the screens should have stopped at King Kong. I think that King Kong burned down. It was a tragedy. They replaced it with something
that's really impressive.
And still kind of based on movie making, in the sense that they based it off of the new King Kong movie, an example of the technology, of making that King Kong come to life.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the screens and the whole experience work. I think when they took it a step further and put in Fast and Furious, it was a step too far. And I
think it's a little harsh to call it an abomination just because of Fast and Furious.
I do not like the way it's going, and I hope that there is not one more screen added to the tram tour.
I can't imagine that there really is any place for it unless you're going to get rid of Earthquake. But Earthquake, to me, is something that you don't need to get rid of.
I don't think that they should get rid of Earthquake. I think they've already gotten rid of so much.
Well, Earthquake is really the last practical set you drive into that does anything.
Yeah.
Everything else is really just driving through sets. So I don't imagine them getting rid of any of that.
Like, they don't cross over.
That's so far back into the backlot that they're not going to change that.
Like, they don't cross over the bridge anymore. It's like there's so much from the...
But at least that history is still there, though.
Yeah, but...
They didn't demolish it. At least it's still there.
Yeah, and I hope they never do. But, who knows?
I mean, eventually they probably will, just because it'll probably end up, like, you can't even go towards it because it's falling apart. There's not upkeep on those things. Like, I doubt it.
There should be.
Sets are made to be taken down. The fact that some sets are even existing still...
At a certain point,
incredible.
It becomes a part of history, and I don't think it should be touched.
But should rides become a part of history? That's the question.
No, I don't think so. I think with the exception of Disneyland, and Disneyland is its own thing entirely. It's like the history of Walt and, that whole thing. With the exception of Disneyland in California, I think everything has to roll with the times and change. And the tram tour might be part of that, since I said everything except Disney, and will I be happy with what it turns into in the future? Maybe not, but roll with the times.
Yeah.
Who am I to stop it?
I mean, clearly, nothing's sacred.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaws left.
Yeah.
I mean, after so many years of being there, and obviously there was a huge backlash, but even then people saw Diagon Alley and was like, what ride was here before? I don't even remember.
I mean, we did the same thing with
Tower of Terror and Mission Breakout.
Yeah, we did the same thing. It's like, what tower? It's like,
we were so mad.
Yeah, we were so mad. We were furious forever. But then, the thing is, you have to do it right. If you're going to replace something so cherished, you have to replace it with something better. You have to put in a Diagon Alley with an Escape from Gringotts. You have to put in a Mission Breakout. You have to do better. Yeah. And that is the takeaway from this. In the tram tour with Fast and Furious, they did not replace with better. They replaced with less. So change for the better, I'm okay with. But don't get lazy.
Well, yeah, I think that's the case anywhere.
Yeah.
Regardless of what park you're at. But I think that's exactly what ended up happening here at Universal Studios Florida.
Uh-huh.
An iconic attraction that people held so near and dear to their hearts. So many nostalgic feelings towards it. Obviously built up a lot of anger because of the announcement of it leaving, but they were able to replace it with something that was an equivalent, if not more,
Yeah. I mean,
than
obviously,
what Jaws was.
obviously in the sense of just technology has advanced, you know, it's like they were able to do so much more. But just with an attraction and a area of the park that would fill you with that great feeling, you know, like Amity and like Jaws the Ride did, they kept it up to par.
I feel like that love for that area is just nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm a huge movie nerd. Like, I love movies, and Jaws is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Walking in Amity doesn't really affect me the same way that, like, walking into the Wizarding World does.
No, of course not.
It's not the same thing.
No, so yeah, it would be
Jaws the Ride, that's a different story.
It would be nostalgia for growing up with that section of the park. That's why people would love it. Because, Jaws, the movie, does not instill that nostalgia that Harry Potter does.
I mean, most of the movie does take place, it takes place in Amity, but when you think about Jaws, you don't think about Amity. You think about water, you think about ocean, you think about the shark.
It's all on the beach or in the water, yeah.
You know, that's all you think about. So, the nostalgia, like you said, is for having grown up with it, not necessarily for Amity itself. I'm sure there's Jaws lovers out there who are like, what are you talking about? Amity brings so much joy to my heart, which is completely true. Everybody has their own thing.
Yeah.
But I think they did one-up themselves with the Wizarding World and having replaced Jaws.
Yeah.
It is sad because Jaws is one of those unique attractions that we'll never see again. We'll never see something like that, which, you know, not wanting to get on that conversation again, but, you know, losing something like that you think is untouchable because it's so unique and so different and has such high guest experience. It really, really sucks that we lose something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we didn't grow up with it, but
I wish I'd ridden it.
I wish I got the chance to ride it. I mean, we could still go to Japan to ride it tonight if you want to go.
We wouldn't understand anything the skippers say.
Just depends if it's in English or not. Who knows? It might be an English day. I don't know.
An English day.
I don't know.
Every Thursday.
English day.
English day.
I don't know if that's offensive or not, so I'm really sorry.
It's okay. I called the tram tour an abomination in the future.
That was super hardcore.
I know. Like, I've just been thinking about it ever since. I was like, oh, that's pretty harsh. I mean, there's still, like, the psycho house.
I told you it was harsh. You didn't even listen.
No, I know. But I mean, you know, there's still so much to love that I hope never goes away. Like,
hopefully the people who turned it off turned it back on for you to hear you say, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
No,
I got heat of the moment.
You know, I'm not saying it won't become an abomination.
Who knows? I mean, we don't know what the direction is.
Like, Fast and Furious does not instill hope for the future, but there are still things to love about the tram tour, and I want people to know that I still love the tram tour.
I looked at the clock because I didn't know how long you were going to go this time.
Right now? This time?
Yeah, I was scared you were going to go on another massive tangent.
No, I'm not going on it. I'm just saying there are still things to love. Psycho House, you know, like...
War of the Worlds set. It
has become part of the... Yeah, War of the Worlds is fairly new, but still has become a cool part of the tram tour.
I'm not going to lie, even though I don't think Fast and Furious is any good, I still enjoy it for how bad it is.
I don't like it.
It's like an enjoyment of terrible movies. It's like Trolls 2. Like, that's so bad. It's, like, The Room, it's so bad that it's good. Like, when I go on Fast and Furious, I'm excited to see Vin Diesel jump out of his car to hang on to a helicopter / drone thingy that makes no sense. That size is like, he's as big as the drone thing. Like, what the heck's going on?
He is short.
It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
Angry. I just get really angry.
I don't. I laugh at it.
I just get so angry. Okay.
Why do I get wet? What's wet in there? Like, it's cars driving in the streets of Los Angeles.
It's universal.
Is it the water in, like, the ditches where the tires hit it and splash me in the face?
It's universal. Every ride spits at you.
Yeah, but tell me, what thing is wet in there? Wet from?
It's Vin
That's
Diesel.
what I want to know.
It's the Rock's
it's
sweat.
It's the sweats. Oh, man,
I'm
good with that then.
It's the Rock.
I'm good with that. The Rock sweat is spraying on me.
It is.
It's the combination Vin Diesel Rock sweat.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. Let's end on that note. Vin Diesel Rock sweat. Let's just leave it at that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this week's episode about Jaws the Ride. Hopefully you learned a little bit something new if you hadn't heard of Jaws the Ride, which if you hadn't heard of Jaws the Ride, where have you been living if you're a theme park fan? But on top of that, hopefully you heard something just interesting from the conversation that we were having. Thank you for working with us through our tangents throughout this episode. It was a little bit more hardcore.
I started off recording really sleepy, if you couldn't tell, and I'm awake now.
You're like mad.
I am. I'm riled up.
You're heated.
I am.
We're probably going to have another hour conversation after this podcast ends so that Nikki could like calm down.
Probably.
She's going to fall asleep and be like, the tram, good night, abomination, and just pass out.
Yeah.
Just like a baby falls asleep eating. She's going to fall asleep talking about the tram. Thank you again for making it through this. At the very end of the show, guys, make sure you stay tuned. We're going to have the audio from the attraction at the end because this is such a historic attraction that I wanted to honor it by at least putting the audio from it. So if you guys weren't lucky enough to experience the attraction and you happen to be listening to this podcast, then you actually get to hear the attraction.
We should have said that at the top of the show.
No, it's an exciting little tidbit at the end.
Well, they have to make it this far to get the prize.
Yeah.
If we tell them at the beginning, they might have just fast forwarded through all
That's
of it.
the whole point. I don't want them to do that.
Okay.
I want them to hear to my ridiculousness.
You're smart.
I want them to hear my
get it.
ridiculousness.
You're smart.
Sometimes. Not
Yeah.
all the time. Anyway, you get to hear the attraction audio at the very end of the show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Once again, thank you very, very much for listening. And if you guys want to connect with us on social media, make sure you head on over to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube and just search Theme Park Duo. You can find us on all of those social media platforms. Also, don't forget, you can also head over to tpublic.com and check out our t-shirts. The link for our shop in TeePublic is actually in the description of this episode. So if you want to head over there, buy a Theme Park Duo t-shirt or any of the other fun shirts I have there, which I do have a Tramtastic Day t-shirt.
I need that.
Which I would wear to Universal. Make sure you pick that up and have a good time wearing those silly, ridiculous shirts that we have created for you guys.
I want to sing the song now, but I won't.
Yeah, please don't. It doesn't fit in with this episode. A lot of the things we talk about don't fit in with this episode.
I did talk about the tram a lot.
Yeah, let's not continue. And then, if you want to email us any comments, questions, concerns, or complaints, I found a hair in my food.
That's not a complaint for us. That's not a complaint for us.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they just want to complain to us about something they experienced earlier. Make sure to email us at
ThemeParkTourist@gmail.com.
Literally every episode for 3 seasons we've been doing that. How do you forget?
I was so distracted by your spit in my drink tangent thing.
There's a snake in my boot.
I'm just afraid now of all the complaints we're going to get about randomness.
Nikki, why would you put a hair in my food? I didn't. How would I do that?
My dog pooped outside and I walked in it. I don't care.
Thank you again, everybody, for staying tuned with our ridiculousness. We really hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
It's past our bedtime.
It's definitely past our bedtime. We are well into deliriousness. So thank you again, and always remember, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya!
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.
For my friends on the solar voyage, guys, we goodbye to all those happy landlubbers. We're off on the afternoon over. Welcome aboard Captain Jake Family Boat Tours. We're the best. Or actually, scenic cruise on the island. My name is Dion. I'll be your skipper today as we visit the actual spots back in 1974. That battle with shark jaws devoured all this poor innocent island itself. First item of adventurous. So right report side, that is the home of our very own Chief of Police, Martin Brody. Now, Brody really did blow up that shark. He became a legend in his own time. Roy Scheider played him in that movie. They made him a whole shark episode. How many of you guys saw the film, Jaws? Let's not watch the film.
Mayday! Mayday! Wait, nothing out there. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe 60 days. Did you guys copy that transmission? That sounded like Gordon on Amity 3.
10-4, we copied. He can't be too far away. He was headed back in. We're picking up his distress signal now. Keep an eye out for him. I'll call Chief Brody. Stay clear.
10-4. Okay, folks. Looks like one of our tour boats is running into a little trouble. Nothing major, I'm sure. So I'm going to go ahead and continue the tour for you all. Okay. This is what happened. Amity 6 to base, Amity 3 sinking out of the lighthouse. Don't see any survivors. We've done this except the shark.
Amity 6, repeat that?
A shark! The biggest one ever! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! It's going under the boat base! What should we do?
Stay calm. Try the grenade launcher. Over.
Oh, wonderful. These things are loaded? Oh, shit. Oh, this again. Come on, let's get out of here. 76 tell Chief Brody we're gonna wait in the boathouse. Okay. Let's see. Hello? Anybody here? Yes, who's coming? If that's him, we gotta go. We'll drop him here. Oh, come on, man, listen. Come on. Hang on. We're out of here. Look out!
Amity 6, this is Chief Brody. I'm on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
10 minutes? The shark bait in 10 minutes? Where is he? I don't see him. Oh no! Oh, this is bad. This is very bad. And we gotta go for it. Okay, hang on, everybody. We should be okay. We're going to try and get off at that old fishing dock. We'll unload one road at a time, but do watch out for the high voltage barge. Remain seated, keep your hands inside the boat. I'm going to go tie up here. It's disgusting. Hey, we really roasted him. Whoa! Oh, man. What a day.
Amity 6, what was that? Where the heck are you? This is Brody. Are you all right?
Thanks, Chief. It's Amity 6. Call off the Marines. We're coming home! Oh, ladies and gentlemen. I really want to thank you for your incredible bravery out there today. Do me a favor, don't tell anyone what happened, because if we're this little fish episode, we're to leak out. That's it for Captain Jake and my job. That's my house right there. We gotta find more payments to make on it, so keep us to yourselves, right? After all, we did get them, didn't we? We sure did. Yeah, believe it or not, that's actually a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I have 3 roommates. Look carefully, you'll see what we're up to. We pay for cable every month, but what we don't do is pay for electricity. We actually see their extension cord, we steal it from the Maravon's house right behind us. So I'll hook it right now because he's old, but it's pretty awesome. Saves on gas money. All right, guys, so my name is Theo. That's